I just briefed the Security Council about the situation in Yemen. I reminded everybody that the situation is highly complex. There are many dimensions, a humanitarian crisis, reaching levels akin to the Sahel in Africa, the country struggling against terrorism, an insurgency that has expanded its control in the south, and also issues related to deepening divisions in the south. I also covered the security situation. President Hadi has led to, his effort have led to significant gains against Al-Qaeda since I last reported to the Council. The Yemeni forces have been able to regain control of the governorate of Abiyan and the various cities that were occupied by Ansar Sharia. However, I reminded the Council that their presence is now dispersed across various parts of the country. Al-Qaeda and its associated groups continue to pose a significant threat and challenge to the political transition and to peace and security in the region. I spoke also about the humanitarian situation. I emphasized that food insecurity and malnutrition levels are among the highest now in the world. 10 million people, more than half of the population, are food insecure. There are nearly 1 million malnourished children. This is one thing that I highlighted in my briefing to the Council. And to date, less than half of the humanitarian appeal for Yemen has been funded. An additional 340 million is urgently required to meet increased humanitarian needs. On the political transitions, I'm still concerned that there continue to be efforts to undermine Yemen's transition. The recent resolution of the Security Council, Resolution 2051, makes it clear that those who undermine the government of national unity and the political transition should be prepared to be held to account. Obstruction continues at various levels. Attacks on oil and gas, electricity infrastructure are costing the Treasury an estimated loss of 250 million per month. But I also spoke about good news. The transition agreement has opened the way, in fact, for the first time in Yemen's history, for a credible and inclusive political process, and is seen as a genuine pathway towards meaningful reform. There are 4 major steps that I highlighted for the upcoming transition, as outlined in the transition agreement signed in November in Riyadh. First, an inclusive preparatory process for National Dialogue Conference. Second, the holding of the National Dialogue Conference. Third, the translation of the results of the National Dialogue into a new constitution. And finally, the holding of general elections under the new constitution. I spoke also about the need for political action. Military action alone cannot solve the radicalization and the terrorism threat. The only way to achieve lasting stability is to address also some of the underlying grievances, in particular in the south. When seen against this background, it is hard to overestimate the relevance of the national dialogue process for the success of this transition. So to put it bluntly, if the national dialogue fails, many expect that the entire transition and peace process will collapse. So it is clear the stakes are very high, and that's why we're making every effort to support this process, the national dialogue process. President Hadi has just issued a decree establishing launching the preparatory phase, establishing an inclusive national dialogue preparatory committee. It is probably the most inclusive body ever established in Yemen. We applaud this positive step and the statements showed by the President in bringing it about. So the clock is ticking if the preparatory process is to deliver a national dialogue that can be held within the time frame foreseen in the agreement. There are lots of work that needs to be done by the preparatory committee, including settling a number of issues about the format of the conference, its agenda, its working methods, rules of procedure, and other technical issues. So in addition to all these technical steps, there remains an urgent need to progress also on other priority tasks of the government including the establishment of a new electoral commission and a voter register. So we remain committed to supporting Yemen's transition. Thank you.
Mr. Bannerman, can I ask, I mean, who are the, in your point of view, who are the sort of the spoilers, so to speak? I mean, some say that the Republican Guard is still controlled by members of Mr. Saleh's family. Meanwhile, the Yemeni Socialist Party, for example, has been critical of President Hadi. Should they be subject to U.S. sanctions? Are they a spoiler? Are they a legitimate, is there a legitimate critique of a kind of a person elected in a one-party election? And do you propose to name to the Council the people that should be, you know, sanctioned in a sense for being spoilers, and who might they be?
First, let me emphasize the fact that there is a very lively debate, about in Yemen. There is all Yemeni constituencies are competing to participate, in the national dialogue. This is very healthy. So something has changed. Only a few months ago, the country was on the verge of civil war. There was war and confrontation, violence. The main language was violence. Now, the dominant language is national dialogue and preparations for a national dialogue. This is very important. I explained also that there are still spoilers lurking in the background. We should be aware of this, and actions often undermine the government of national unity and also the transition agreement. I did not get into further details.
Do you think there's a need for another resolution beyond 2051 to focus the parties and to sort of begin this process of sanctioning those who are, let's even say, Mr. Saleh himself? What is his current role in Yemen, if any?
Mr. Saleh is still the president of the GPC, and the Security Council just passed a resolution, 2051. The Security Council will take further measures as needed. Thank you.
What do you think of the human rights, just one last question, the Human Rights High Commissioner, do you think there should be some kind of a report made leading for accountability for killings that took place?
The Office of the High Commissioner is preparing a new report to the Human Rights Council. And we are, as United Nations and as Envoy Secretary General, have been urging the government to implement the Human Rights Council resolution that called for the establishment of a commission of inquiry into the event and the violation that occurred in 2011. The previous government committed to implementing this resolution, but there has been so far no progress on the setting up of this inquiry. Thank you.